Chris Mannix covers the NBA, Sports Illustrated, their senior NBA writer. I'm looking at, you got all these boxes there. Like, are you moving in or moving out right now?
I'm improvising here for a minute. I didn't know my cleaning people were coming this morning, and I'm in my spare bedroom, which I just set up briefly. I moved in, Dan, and then I just left it alone. Like I stopped unpacking at some point and never finished. Paulie can understand that. Paulie knows my speed.
We were just talking about Russell Westbrook with the performance last night, and then Scotty Brooks, his coach, comes out and says he's the second greatest point guard of all time. What do you make of it?
I mean, Scott Brooks loves Russell Westbrook. He's had him from the very beginning. And I think part of Scott Brooks knows that the relationship with Russell Westbrook is as important as anything he does as far as coaching, like having a strong bond with Westbrook. That being said, there's some merit to the statistical argument there. I mean, how many point guards are able to do what Russell Westbrook can do? I mean, the way that Steph Curry changed the position with his shooting, Russell Westbrook has changed with power and speed. Now, we can argue about, the efficiency of it and the fact that he hasn't won. But statistically speaking, when Russell Westbrook's career is over, there are not going to be too many point guards ahead of him in terms of individual marks.
Okay, but if you were ranking, Magic's the best point guard of all time, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Magic's the best point guard of all time.
Okay, so second on that list is? Let's do modern era.
Modern era. Okay, so you eliminate Kuzi and the guys from
Kuzi wouldn't be in there, but
okay,
in his generation, he was wonderful. But Oscar would be in there.
The right-handed dribble wouldn't go too far.
No, it would not. No, I'd play him to his go left every time. Okay, so who's second on your list?
I would probably take Steph Curry.
Okay.
I think the shooting changed everything. After that, I think it's a coin flip between Isaiah and John Stockton. So those two guys would be third and fourth on my modern list.
But you have stats here, and we get drunk with stats. Who do you want leading your team? Because that to me is a different, that's a different question. Do I want Russell Westbrook, who's got all these stats, but do I want him in crunch time? Do I want him leading my team? And I think that's where the separation happens for me.
Okay, but would your argument be any different if in that, what was it, 2016 playoff, the Thunder didn't blow that 3-2 lead and they went on to win in the finals? They do that. Maybe Kevin Durant doesn't leave Oklahoma City, and we are probably looking at Russell Westbrook through an entirely different prism. I just don't. Maybe. I don't want to get bogged down in one bad sequence that changed or redefined who Russell Westbrook is. I mean, if they win that series, Dan, I think we're both looking at Russell Westbrook a lot differently.
I'll give you that. We were just talking about that earlier this morning before we started the show. That series changed the NBA. I mean, yeah. It truly did. You can go back and look, and then, here's Durant saying, hey, I'm not going to win here. I'm going to join the Golden State Warriors. Then Russ stays a little while longer, then, gets bounced around here a little bit. But
there's no way, Dan, Durant leaves Oklahoma City if they win a championship. I think he goes on and tries to establish a dynasty in Oklahoma City. That series changed everything.
Yeah. We're talking to Chris Mannix, the Sports Illustrated senior NBA writer. Are the Lakers okay?
No, right now they're not okay because LeBron and Davis are struggling. Dennis Schroeder is out, and the Dennis Schroeder absence, Dan, I think is going to loom large over these next couple of weeks. Schroeder has been one of the engines of this team throughout the entire season. They were 0-4 back in February when Schroeder went out in those health and safety protocols. Him being out 10 to 14 days, potentially at the very least coming back right when the season ends and having to work himself back into shape in time for a potential play-in game. That's something that we're going to be talking about over the next couple of weeks. All that being said, if they can get through the play-in situation and get into the regular playoff field, if that's the direction they ultimately have to go, I just can't bet against LeBron. I mean, betting against LeBron is like betting on Charlie Brown to kick the football. Like you keep thinking it's going to happen, but he keeps coming up with great moments in the postseason. So if they can get through these next couple of weeks, fight their way into the regular playoff field, I don't know about you, but I don't think the Lakers are terrified of Utah or Phoenix or even the Clippers. There isn't a super team like Golden State in the Western Conference that you look at and say a diminished version of the Lakers can't compete with. So I'm still thinking that the Lakers, if they can plow through this turbulent stretch, they are still the front runner in the West.
What do you think the commissioner thought of LeBron James' opinion of play-in games?
I mean, LeBron is rocket fuel, right, to any NBA subject, any subject, period. I mean, he ignites a debate. He did this a couple of months ago when the subject of the All-Star game came up, when he said, why are we having an All-Star game? All of a sudden, it went from kind of a simmering debate to one that was everywhere. LeBron doesn't want to play in the All-Star game. Should the NBA cancel the All-Star game? He's kind of doing it again with the play-in game. And he's not the first player to do this. Obviously, Luka Doncic led the charge on the play-in tournament as well. It is kind of telling, though, Dan, that the two players most critical of the play-in tournament are two players on teams that are sitting right there around the 7th seed. Like that's
and you know who
issue.
loves the play-in games? Steph Curry, because Steph Curry needs the play-in games to be able to get into the playoffs.
And look, the play-in games, I understand there are some wrinkles that need to be ironed out moving forward. You probably don't need the 7 seed involved in the future. You can probably get away with the 8-9 seed competing as you did in the bubble last year. But there's no way you can convince me or anyone that the play-in tournament doesn't have way more value than it has negativity surrounded. You mentioned Golden State. Look at Washington. Back in January, Dan, Washington was a train wreck. They had to miss 2 weeks because of COVID protocols. In a different season, they might have rested Bradley Beal and said, look, come back next year. We're going to get a high draft pick for you to play with. Same thing with Russell Westbrook. Instead, they upgrade the trade deadline. They get Daniel Gafford, who has been great for them. And they're in a position right now to compete for a spot in the play-in tournament. Look, LeBron can say what he wants. The play-in tournament is not going anywhere. This is something that Adam Silver advocated for several years before it was instituted this past season. I talked to Silver about this last summer. He is still very much in favor of it. So while I think we'll see an evolution of it over the next couple of years, the play-in tournament is here to stay.
Chris, good to talk to you as always, and good luck unpacking or packing whatever you're doing in your room there.
I have literally no idea what's in some of these boxes.
That's Chris Mannix, the senior NBA writer, Sports Illustrated. I'll talk to him in a month, and the room will still look the same.